And we're already on number three. Woohoo! Hey Zubin, are you ready? We have Zubin from Dynamic Budgets kicking off our third demo of Sage Demo Day. So welcome, Zubin.
Thank you very much, Shamey. And welcome to Informal Budgeting Day for Intact, it looks like. We
There's a
have,
lot of budgeting tools today. That is for sure.
we've got four of us. So I just wanted to kind of help you differentiate our solution, Dynamic Budgets, compared to some of our colleagues. Dynamic Budgets was designed primarily for customers who are kind of reeling away from Excel. Think that Excel is a dirty word. There's either Excel-based budgeting solutions or non-Excel-based budgeting solutions. We're a proprietary app that tries to put the guardrails up, tries to put those bumper rails up on the bowling alley for budgeting. A lot of our customers come to us and say, whoa, 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 Zubin, stop. We have non-technical, non-financial, and I cut them off. You mean, oh, end users who are incredibly gifted at breaking Excel? Yes, we understand. If that's your situation, we've got your back. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into our application. I'm going to prioritize the video screen opposed to my video and share. And here we go for dynamic budgets. Um, Similar to some of our colleagues, we have a very fast implementation. Typically, most of our customers are up and running after about 4 implementation sessions. Usually day one, we're taking the system and looking at your financial reports and trying to mimic the financial reporting categories. So we can start with a laundry list of all of our accounts from Intact. And then sometimes what we'll do is we'll concatenate some of the primary dimensions. In this system, I've taken the 5-digit GL code, the 3-digit department code, and the 3-digit location code and said, you know what? From our perspective, we have managers and they're responsible for the departments in a particular location. So that is their predefined set of accounts that they need to see. That's their budget bucket. In our old legacy process in Excel, we would generate financial reports or hand out budget templates based upon that grouping. So we can mimic that. But then what we can do is we can also come in here, and this is usually what we do is say, give us a couple of samples of your financial reports, and we can enter in the reporting categories to make it look and feel like their P&L reports. Similar categories. Notice that I ran the report one time here on screen. I had my budget list. And if I want to look at it from a company roll-up perspective, I could change this to a department roll-up perspective, look at my sales department. Within sales, I've got my different locations. Maybe I wanted to have a location-based groupings, but we can group these and create these different reporting formats on the fly. So we can kind of customize the financials to make it look and feel like things that are familiar to your staff. When I go in here, I'm going to turn off the formatting. I've got the entire company here, but let's imagine that we're just the department manager overseeing the admin department in Department 300. Or if I wanted to, I could have been a little bit more specific and just come in here and just look for admin New York. I can go ahead and search. I'm going to kind of leave this at just everything for admin related. And in here, I've got my listing of accounts. I might have designed the screen with as many columns as I wanted. This could have been data entry columns, so I could have had 12 months immediately open for data entry. But a lot of our users, a lot of our customers would prefer to have this as a read-only screen and encourage/force their users to have to drill down into an account to enter their budgets. So if I had a long list of accounts, maybe I just wanted to scroll up and down, or if I maybe wanted to use the filter here and jump to my rent. If they know their account number is great, they can type in a partial account number or they can type in a partial explanation here. Or maybe I want to look for everything that smelled like New York. I could type in New York and change that to contains. So we try to keep this relatively friendly for end users. If I want to go down and enter my budget for rent, apologize, I'm in a hotel today and our Wi-Fi is a little bit spotty. So in here, I can enter my details for that budget request. You don't have to do a special function to invoke the ability to itemize your budget. Inherently, we expect the end users to itemize their budgets. So I might have had my base lease, I might have planned for an escalation, or maybe we wanted to rent the third floor in here. This feels like Excel. So if they want to put in another 2,500 to rent the second floor, and that's going to start actually not in July. I'll delete that with the delete on my keyboard, and I'm going to start that in January, paste it over here, and I can grab a range of cells just like Excel, right click, copy, or Control C on my keyboard and paste. Control V on my keyboard or right click with my mouse. So it feels like Excel. If they need a calculator, they could have said 5,000 divided by 4 quarters, come up with that value, and then pasted that a couple times throughout the year if they wanted to do something like that. We don't retain the formula because we do not want to encourage the use of math. We don't expect your users to get math right. But if you needed to do something a little bit more fancy, we could have come back in here and done a delete. If we needed more space, we could have added an additional 5 rows below, or if there's an IT maintenance manager with 30 software contracts that they need to itemize, they could go ahead and add in 30 rows up top here and have a much bigger screen. If they wanted to, they could go take a look at the summarized transactions by vendors or by customers and do a lookup against intact data and bring this data back from looking at our prior year actuals, and automatically inserted how much they had spent with each vendor and have that automatically populate into this grid. If the user is not familiar with how much they've spent in prior years, we can have the history lookups at the bottom of the screen, and you can actually just click on a month and drill straight down to transaction details coming up from Intact. We optionally also have the ability to turn on a link here so you can drill straight back to the transactions in Intact. So if they are a licensed Intact user, they could drill through and get back into the system. But for dynamic budgets, we have an unlimited user license. We want to encourage the use of the application. We want your end users doing all the work. We don't want you to get a 2-user license and have accountants, the finance team slinging templates back and forth in Excel and importing and exporting it back in. We want your end users to come touch the product, put their details in, and make them feel like they're owning their budgets and make them accountable for the numbers that they put in here. If you have unsaved entries, we prompt you to either save or discard your work, not lose any of your data. If I wanted to, after I've completed my budget, we'd like them to come back in here and run a budget to actual variance report on a monthly basis. I'd chosen my 25 budget versus actual for October, and we're going back into my Department 300. And I can go back in here and compare myself. If I double click into my rent account, I've got a split screen here showing my actual transactions for the month and the full annual budget down below. Ideally, they could look at this and say whether or not this was a planned expenditure or not, whether this was earlier or later than expected, and do the research as to why they were over under that month. Maybe we forgot about our actuals were 2,500, or our budget was only 976. Maybe they forgot to budget for the second floor in the lease. Next year, please remember to bump this up by 2K. We're going to be over budget for the remainder of the year. They can take these notes in the system, and then if you've got those notes accumulating month over month, you can teach yourself how to make better decisions. So in here, when I go to budget my next time around, if I'm scratching my head trying to figure out what to do with the top half of the screen, I can look at the bottom half of the screen, drag this up, and see my comments accumulating here in the bottom half of the screen. I've got my history, I've got my variance comments, and trying to encourage them to leave notes in the system to work on that sort of continuous process improvement. This is also really important if you've got a lot of turnover in your organization, that manager one can take good notes throughout the course of the year, leave those notes in the system, and then if they leave the organization, the next manager can come in and do the research, either at looking at the transaction history of the account or reviewing any of the notes that their predecessor might have left for them. So just briefly go over our payroll modules. Amy, I'm showing 136 here, and it feels like I just want to stay on track for
You
time.
started a little bit early, so you're good.
Okay. Prompt me if I run over. I'm about to run over. Okay, payroll modules. We have about three distinct payroll modules, and actually four distinct ways to do payroll. We have a traditional salary module where we have the ability to input our employees, specify an annual salary. We could have given them a rate change. So a lot of people question, so how painful is it if we're going to change from a 3% increase in pay to a 4% um, cost of living adjustment? Well, if you want to, you can type in 4, copy and paste that all the way down your screen, hit paste, and in which month are we going to make that effective? Whether it's on anniversary date or we do everything on January. Well, let's change that to effective January. Copy and paste, Control Shift down arrow, and we're done. A number of competitors, I'm not sure if any of the ones on today's call, maybe they can call it out, to make edits into your payroll module, some of our competitors will have to go one by one and do a drill down at one account or one employee at a time. We don't have a pop-up window per employee. You have a common grid where you can make mass modifications very easily. Copy and paste FICA down the entire column. Social Security, medical might be individual choices per individual. So we might have a data dump from our payroll system, ADP, Paylocity, Ceridian, et cetera. And you might have a pay code for medical. That rate code might be H32-G. Well, let's translate those to human labels. Child, employee, spouse, family, HMO, PPO versions of those. You can have as many options as you need in the drop-down menus, but then it's just a matter of copy and paste from Excel into our forms. We try to keep it simple. If you need to split this employee, Homer Simpson, we can take him and split him across two different departments. Maybe he's working part-time in New York and part-time in Dallas. And we start him off full-time in New York in 1.0. Then we split him 30%, 70% across the two departments for the remainder of the year. This could have been late start, early termination, zero them out when they're not working, splits between multiple departments, or maybe even split for PTO. So working for primary full-time wages, then they go out on PTO, and then they come back in at full-time wages after their family leave, things like that. Our alternate payroll module is for hourly staffing. You can define your pay periods as months, 24 pay periods, 26 pay periods, or even go out to 53 weeks in a year if you get that catch-up year. In here, similar, we're specifying their rate, their salaries, their salary accounts, and then off here, this can be either the number of hours worked per pay period, or it could be an FTE per pay period. Some of our customers have even gone down to let's specify an average working shift. They're going to work instead of headcount 1.0, 8 hours in a day or 7.5 hour shift in healthcare. And then the average shift is 7.5 hours times an hourly rate of X times the number of working days in the pay period. We have an alternate payroll module for shift scheduling. If you want to if you're in healthcare or hospitality and you had shift differentials for 24/7 operations, you can specify night and weekend shift diff and go after that as well. We have a fair amount of reporting in here, but we are a budgeting tool. You have convenience reporting that you don't have to leave the product to be able to run your financial reports. You've got drill down reports at the budget level, but you also have drill down reports at the actuals level. So I showed that from our annual variances, we were able to drill down and look at transactions. Instead of doing it one account at a time, maybe we want to look at the entire roll-up of the admin department for all of the year 2019. That's where my demo data set sits. And I can grab different pieces. So I could grab my account number. If any of you are from GP world, worked with Dynamics GP, this is like the advanced smart list. I can grab some of my column headers and group and subtotal by these values. If I wanted to, I could sort by my vendors. I could sort by my assumptions. If I'm looking for a particular description, I could have typed something into one of these fields and done a search by. But it's very convenient to be able to look at this transaction list. When I was a budget manager, I would have to prepare the transaction list for the entire company, drop millions of transactions out to Excel, break them up into individual pieces, and send those out to the department managers. Now, all of a sudden, I tell them, go to reports, monthly transaction review, run your own reports, and leave me alone. So, the one of the big pain points with Intact is the export process, trying to get this data out of the whatever your budget process in Excel and use that import utility for that they have. You have to fight to get it into the Excel template. You have to upload it into Intact. You have to wait anywhere from 3 to 15 minutes to get your email notification. And if you have a problem, it will report the first of your problems, not all of your errors. Why would you have an error? One of your dimensions might be made inactive. Common problem our customers face because they're doing forecasts is that in the middle of the year, they've inactivated a dimension code because they don't want that project being used any longer. It's complete. However, that project was in the original budget and therefore has to be carried forward in the forecast. So when you're trying to import the forecast, it has to be present. So that is a problem for a lot of our customers. And what we've done is we can now actually the um, pre-scan your dimensions and let you know if there's going to be a problem. So when you run the screen, we're forewarning you that this dimension in this project code is this particular code is inactive. You'll need to go back to Intact and reactivate it to be able to complete this upload. Furthermore, we've got the ability to scan for dimension relationships. So if you're doing restrictions and a department can only be associated with particular accounts or particular projects, we also have the ability to do this. Right now, this is a passive lookup. We're going to switch over to an active warning here shortly. Last thing I was going to let you know is that we have ability to we are synchronizing data to Intact. I'm getting a internet unstable warning. Can you still hear me, Amy?
Yes, it was just a little bit muffled at one point.
Okay. So this is our synchronization tool. You have the ability to sync on demand from within the product. And then we also have a data center tool that does a nightly sync. So we're copying the transactions from Intact over to this product. And then you can run with unlimited interactions between your end users and our budgeting database. And then occasionally, either nightly or however frequently you need during the day, synchronize the data over. And if there's a particular dimension you just added or a transaction that you need included in your report, you can hit the Sync Now button over in our application. So kind of the Energizer Bunny, I can keep going on, but long story short, we're typically up and running in about 4 implementation sessions and look forward to working with you in the Intact world. Thanks very much today.